give you, an investment price. That second one with 7 projectors, there is some scale that you can go back and forth between if the budgets work for you. And I left that one over on the right-hand side for 20 projectors. I think you just get to know what can work and what actually doesn't shrink. And it's labor that doesn't scale, right? We're still happily flummoxed by that.
Are these projectors able to be reused again?
So it'd be great to talk about how to do that.
Purchase projectors versus?
Well, so versus renting, yes. Yeah, and they did come up in town council. They were asking, can we purchase these? So I would definitely recommend that.
So is this renting them or purchasing?
This is rental.
Okay.
So as you say, one of the projectors can run by price for the rental side. If you know you're going to be doing it often, especially like say with these two here, buy them for sure. I'm not opposed to that. I don't run a rental shop or anything like it. And these prices are based on, well, they're a little different. I shrank the cost because I was using Orlando or Vegas, where people rent them all the time, but their rental stock is still pretty spendy.
And is that 8,000 for an event, or is it 8,000 for?
So normally it's for a week. And that's another, like you say, if you have it on site, it's great to be able to have it at your disposal anytime, because you can see the benefits very quickly that way. And that's the thing that's changed too with these projectors, is that with laser projectors, each projector has a 20,000 hour rating. So if you ran 24/7 for, they say 10 years, I mean, you shouldn't quit. They'll have a slight diminishing light quality, but they're pretty good.
What's the time on those quotes?
What's the time?
Like that, you said that's for a week?
It's for a week on the projectors. Licensing for artwork is for a month. And yeah.
So an investment of $31,600, how long do you have an art show?
So it could be 3 to 4 nights. I mean, as you say, you have the artwork and the projectors there for you. And if there is like a security cost or something like this, that's something to be discussed. But this is, as that little addendum talks to, it doesn't include security. Depends on how everyone wants to work with it. I just feel like this stuff goes in and it's just not an issue. But did that answer your question in terms of timing? I mean,
Yes.
When you mention timing, it's like, I want to talk about the calendar. I want to see what it does. If we can do it this year, that kind of idea.
Speak a little on artwork licensing. Do you use local artists?
Yeah, I was curious about that.
Yeah, where do you get your artists?
So I work with, as I said, I have a catalog over the last 15 years of artists that are around the world, but I'm always looking for more and new artwork. It would be great to get high school students to help with the show, but then as they see things going on, let's say in testing, I can get to see what they're up to. You can start pulling in local that way. I've done local, I've highlighted, in the very beginning we even had a local sort of award, like there was some cash awards. And it kind of didn't make them happy because they'd rather know that they're just being considered with the rest of the artists. So it's a thing to cultivate, and it's there. I am not opposed to it. I want to know that they feel like they're up to whatever they see around them. So cultivating is the bigger issue, though, in discovering it, because the way that I discover, let's say in New York, is going to be a lot different than what's going on here in Trinidad. So it's just me talking to people, finding out what's going on. So,
So if you open it up to a community, like if we did it here, we opened it up to our, artist community. Do you find that some of that translates well into projecting, or do you have to?
to the rejecting,
Lot.
or the rejections?
To projecting.
Oh, projecting, yeah. So, like you say, is it one-to-one? We'll find out. For folks that paint, it doesn't always translate. Like you say, if they have still photography,
Oh, imagine that.
Well, we can do kind of what it would be as like a slideshow, but getting them to think about being in motion can be a big growth for them. They should be open to it normally.
Yeah, I didn't know whether you took their stuff and go, well, what we could do is this and turn it into something motion. Do you add your creative knowledge, having done this? Oh, we can do that, but let's take part of this and put it over here and make it move. And
I can recommend it to them, but I'd rather the artist do it on their terms, because then it becomes kind of a design process. And I end up doing something that, I'll insert my headspace in it. I don't want to do that. I really try to work in honor, with the artist themselves.
Okay.
So, what I was going to mention too, a question came up in town council with artwork licensing. It does include audio. I don't think I have any artists using soundtracks from a band, say, or anything like this. And if they do, they have to have it licensed, and it's their cost. But everything, most of the work has audio included with it.
Okay.
So that seemed important. It's a good question. I'm glad you asked. But what else you got? I mean, I was going to point out this notion of awe just simply because the research has been, keeps coming up that we do change our way of thinking of what's around us when we do get confronted with awe. And I like this idea that you put aside self-interest and you start revaluing community. And I guess for me especially, become curious again with the world. So these stats here lead up to this notion of trust and how, I'll say attendees, but those folks that are out there on the path feel like sharing it. So if you have 3/4 of the people that show up to talk about it with friends and family, it just keeps people talking, it keeps people coming, it brings business you'd like to see. It generates and attracts capital. It does all kinds of other things that you'd like to think community could just do on its own, but you never know. But that helps, knowing people just start talking. So this year, if it were to happen, I could see 1,000 people showing up. You would double it, the following year. And then it's just how you're already talking about marketing the event or an event, how to fold it into something larger. And I might have some things, like you mentioned, once they get off the highway, there's software that'll tell you exactly where to go after that accident. So stuff like this, it'd be great to help you with. Other questions?
Say we decided, we chose one and we said, yes, we'd like to do something like that. So the artwork is selected for, our date that we have chosen. Is that artwork chosen by you? Does the board get to select maybe what we want to show? Well, how does that work?
So that's part of that workflow. I will generate a list of art for you guys to look at, and normally it's double the number we need to get to whittle it down. Who gets to be on that list? Yeah, it's up to you, to the town, who's going to be on that approval. So I'm in that right now with the Garbage Museum of Art. I'm going to be down there later this week. And testing on a playlist that's been a little all over the place because their curator quit last April. The executive director was out of the country. All these things are happening, and so I'm going down there with a kind of half-formed playlist that's part of it. So I expect that we'll be experiencing something similar going on here. I mean, do you think that this group would be the one to look at that as opposed to the town council, or how do you view how festivals work?
Might be both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking. That I just didn't know if you guys were the ones to.
Question about the technology. When you say projector, I'm picturing a PowerPoint projector, which kind of obsolete now. You can kind of do it on your phone. So is this something that can be upgraded with new technology? How often have you bought new projectors out of necessity since you've been doing this?
Well, so I have a mix of owning a group of projectors as well as renting the number I need to meet. With that 20,000 hour limit, I just expect to play them until they crap out. I mean, as long as the HDMI connector said they don't change that, it should last. I mean, if you've witnessed something over the last 30 years, it should go into.
Because yeah, it's just projecting what you have on your computer. You can update your computer all the time. It's just projecting what you
Right.
have.
Well, then you bring up another thing that I didn't mention is that I have solid state media players that go with the projectors, and I get them all updated. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
No, I was just thinking, we buy them.
Well, then
Use
you'll
them
have
to get it 3 years while
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it's pretty straightforward. It's not like hopefully, I mean, if you guys get 50 projectors, that might be a time to update, but otherwise you should.
What kind of feedback did you get from council?
It's positive. They had the right questions too. There was one question about how this would work, like you say, even a playlist, the kind of art to be selected, how that would work with strategic planning. Like you have, I guess there's some sort of strategic vision planning that's coming. We can work with those adjectives, I guess, that'll be created out of that plan, but that's going to be it for a little while. So it'll be good to see how the town thinks about their brand right now with that playlist. I mean, it might be, we'll see. Maybe there'll be some latitude. If it's going to happen this year, I hope that there is some way of understanding brand in a pretty short-circuited way until that strategic plan comes up. But the question about the projectors was good. I'm glad they're thinking that way. And there was that same problem, or let's say problem with that question with strategic planning had to do with ROI. And so there isn't any great number for ROI for these kinds of festivals. Blink Festival did publish their data, how much they generated to the surrounding community. When you try to do ratios based on that and conform it to something with Trinidad, it doesn't exactly, I don't know that it works. So even though they can say they generated 120 million over the, let's say 4 or 5 days to the community, and that they paid their artists to be there at 1.5 million. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, it's a town of 300,000, but they have like multiple pro teams. They have all kinds of wrinkles that don't help to understand the numbers. All I know is that, say, in Dallas Beach, the sales division just kept paying pretty much the bulk of the production. And it meant that whatever they were getting in terms of warm leads, there was no problem doing it. For Barrow Beach Museum of Art, their brand is what they're looking to augment. They want a new audience. It's doing what they want to do. So ROI is something to weigh into this. I wish I had some numbers, but I was going to say sites, but like Smithsonian, they might have something that comes through here that helps make sense. But
This is kind of the seed that grew Meow Wolf.
so
There's a lot to talk about there. I don't know how long you want to meet, but maybe you should get the floor at some point.
I was just a question.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So how many communities right now in Colorado are using this kind of media as a tourist attraction?
Good question. I mean, there are a few in Denver, but I don't know what their specific goals are. If they're rural, I don't know if there are any. I mean, I'm in Vail Valley.
Point Vista,
Right. I mean those locations, but they're still like struggling with what they want to do next. So, yeah.
I think it's a really cool idea. If you could bring that kind of people to Trinidad, even half, that's a pretty good sized event for us, especially in a time where a lot of businesses start hurting and stuff. So I think that's really intriguing because our high season ends in October pretty much, and then takes a pretty sharp decline until maybe March again. So that's really interesting. The other thing I want to say is I think having a local aspect with some local artists, I think would would be really important. This is a very local, positive town. You know, they like to see local artists, they like to see local musicians. So I think having some aspect where some local artists can be displayed, I think would really be important for helping put on the event and drawing people, at
Yeah.
least from around town.
You do workshops to help get them
Yeah,
think
so
about the tools that they
use that information as you will. But I just
No,
wanted to-
no, it needs
I
to happen.
also think that means that realistically December is the only option. I mean, November is 8 weeks out. Like, we're not getting original pieces made in that time frame.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
if they're not original, but they're just from the artist, maybe. But
Yeah, that's,
whatever they have to do.
they take pre-existing, they don't have to be original, like you said.
yeah, and we'll do whatever we can. I always think it's more interesting to play with the space with something like this specifically, so it resonates with the physical aspect.
Yeah.
Trinidad's trying to rebrand as an art town, you know, for one, you know, so I think it's a really interesting idea that would build upon that.
No, I hadn't heard this, like, I hadn't been thinking this way personally, but it's interesting to hear. Good. And I just wanted to ask, your question about Meow Wolf, what was?
I just when I went to Meow Wolf, I saw a whole lot of projection art, I
Right.
saw a lot of stuff there, and I didn't know that, ooh, this is good, let's charge admission for people to go in and see all this. Personally, the whole thing made me kind of nauseous, but
Right.
I didn't know if that was the germ that started Meow Wolf.
They had their own world down there in Santa Fe, so,
Well, it's in Dallas, it's in Denver,
It's everywhere now,
It's
yeah.
everywhere.
but like you say, it's their own sort of formula, and it's intriguing for sure. It's not, again, it's not abstract either. I'm glad you asked it though.
So one of those proposals was for 4 nights for Trinidad?
Right, they were all for 4 nights.
They were all for 4
Yes,
nights?
I mean, you have the art as well as projectors.
So we could do something, open to the public that doesn't cost anything and then create something that would generate some revenue?
Yeah.
Like here?
Yeah, you can do that.
Or if we, did it at Christmas time as a gift, to the community and.
It's true.
Yeah, I would lean towards open to the public as well. And in terms of ROI tracking, I don't know, like, in general, it's probably also more of a brand's play, right? To, like you were getting at, Trinidad is artistic, like, come downtown. But we can at least keep an eye on sales tax and lodging tax. So
There's our Placer.ai stuff that'll show you an uptake,
So,
a difference in traffic.
So at least there's
That's
metrics to
quite
know if people are coming and if they're spending money.
like around pacing, or placing, it's good. So,
Speaking of,
good?
Yeah.
Alright,
Okay.
alright.
Yes. How much time we have? How much time we have? So basically, just for context,
Oh, no, here.
We usually get out in an hour and a half.
hour and a half. So, and then is this the last thing?
No,
No, so how much more time do you need, from projection world?
So let's say you can have 20 minutes?
Oh, that's a heck of a lot. I've spent so many zillions of hours doing sketches.
30 minutes?
No, this is a we're opening, we're closing. We have a totally world-class projection guy here. And we met back in April at an AI thing. There's a lot of context here we didn't quite get into. But for branding for Trinidad, creative, artistic place, we can do a lot with lighting, festivals. Blake is a huge festival. There's a permanent place in Denver called Beyond. It's thriving, but it isn't financially successful because of parking issues. I talked to the guy. Meow Wolf, a juggernaut. It was a $4 million a year business its first year, and a destination, which brings people to Santa Fe. They stop, stay the night. It's a destination, so you're not just passing through. If you're tired, and you can make plans around it. People drop it out, and so admission is there. Anyway, it's got great income. So one use to brand Trinidad as a creative place, one use for the theater
Oh, yeah.
is like a sphere, but really classy. and interesting
Mhm.
and creative, where we could charge admission and fund the restoration and also make the place thrive. Well, as a strategic thing, getting equipment here, like we're talking about, so you can festival, and I can festival, and other people can festival, and artists can project, and we have capabilities and structure to ensure that equipment, to protect it, to use it, to regulate it, so that people aren't blowing each other's eyes out, the whole deal, but do it properly, and in a way that we can grow this practice and this capability of projecting in this town. Why? For its identity. To be first to seize this, these tools, which you're getting, the cost per lumen is dropping, these lasers are incredibly affordable, and they get the attention even in the daytime. But basically, I am asking how to do a parallel proposal that can support you, but get us also, while getting us equipment and capability to practice on First Fridays, to celebrate the train entering town, to start testing the ability to get social media that we can track to see, oh, that was a cool picture and a cool projection and a cool response from somebody on their way from LA to Chicago. Steve really responded to this, focusing on the train. I love it. The theater itself can be a substrate, a vehicle, a mecca almost for as a projection service. It's vast. And as we grow equipment, we can learn how to light that up, but not garishly, tastefully, not causing epileptic fits, but actually curiosity is
a real thing.
am I seeing a subtle image of a mind in there? Is that Sister Blandina or a shadow? Get what I mean? Where you're engaging with reality in a way that's intriguing and not overwhelming. There's some other news stories that we can get into, I believe. Technology is coming, all of this stuff's getting cheaper. One of the things that's happening is called augmented reality. And I don't know if you've seen the picture of Mark Zuckerberg marching down the aisle and everybody's got the goggles on and it's a nightmare. Well, we can do public space augmentation, or artistically, or informationally. Streets closed this weekend, there's a lot of things we can do with this technology. And if we're first, guess what? We're creative, newsworthy attraction agents. We become magnets by using these tools in a way that actually augments our reality. It doesn't make us dumber or addicted to scroll through things, but actually celebrates really cool stuff and does it in a beautiful way. So really, where the purpose here is to get people here to understand that lighting is a new way to place-make places, and experience it, and above all, participate in it, so that we can grow. So there's a bunch of ideas. One of them is really to I don't know if it's going to be Jace or who hire. If I can get a budget to get some technical help, I have some because dude, I'm busy. We're doing a lot of stuff. I've already spent a lot of time here, and I didn't understand that, and I do now, and I really I can't stop appreciating you. If we get tools, here are some. David's donating, but we need to learn how to use it, and capabilities growing, and a story of this growing, so that we are creating participatory, expressive use of art and technology here, and also even potentially in the civic case, we have a strong news story, I believe, because we can really connect with a lot of other places that need to bring people in, tell them what's going on, get them excited, put a lot of wow into their world, and use technology in a way that's good for us, not bad for us. Overall is kind of the picture. So if we have equipment, we can host easier this idea of or this practice of creative light in town, celebrate the people here, and get news and get potentially be this theater use as a destination that can bring a thriving new business here that can even increase the traffic, certainly the heads in the beds. Generally, that's the big picture. How do we measure it? Honestly, I think there's an app. And I can't disclose the whole part of it, but I'm working on some stuff for a long time. And there's a 3-dimensional, 3D display app that you can play with and participate, not necessarily just consume a show. And that can be done at scale, even on the theater. So there's a lot of potential. You do have to see it to believe it. Especially if it's new, good. If you're giving it an idea of what the heck would that look like, then that's a success, because doing new stuff is hard. And I think we've got some here. We can get into it soon. So I don't want to, be a talking head like too much. I did want to give some overall context of why this lighting thing might be able to move us forward dramatically towards what we want. Let me go to one example. One idea we thought about for a brand test here is a brick. The Trinidad brick. They're everywhere. It's unique. But we can leverage that into an app that can really grow towards, through preservation and placemaking, toward actual real estate, modern real estate fractionalization and participation, value storage, wealth storage, storage value. This big upside we can get to. I don't want to talk too much upon this guy. I want to ask you what your response is, but does that help make context for Brett? Too abstract?
Hello.
Too much information?
But I totally see it.
Yeah.
You see it?
I can see simplistically that this can be something that attracts people to a rural area that no other area in Colorado has. It's a lot of color, and it's a great way to highlight not only our artists, but our history too.
Totally.
So TripAdvisor rated Beyond, the Laser Light Show in Newburgh, as the #1 event in Newburgh.
Really?
Yeah.
And I talked to the guy who created it.
Have you guys,
Mural candidate for my, excuse me?
are you familiar with the Side Stories guys in Rhino?
Oh, yeah.
They've been 5 years running. They've actually scaled it down quite a bit. So I'd be curious to kind of hear their rationale around that, because I think there used to be something like 15 or 20, and this last year they only had 5 projections. So I don't know if that was just a focus on one area, because Rhino is kind of a sprawling zone up there. But just something that could be worth keeping in mind. And as far as like, it's the first event, smaller side could be better to make sure that everything is super high quality and really has that wow factor.
Well, like you're saying too, the I want to say approval of the playlist could take some time. It'd be nice to keep all of it manageable for a lot of reasons. Yeah, agreed.
I could see it bringing the community out for an event that didn't cost them anything, if they would really enjoy it. I could see it bringing tourists into town for a specific event that would, as a destination, and they would come here for a destination. I could see it highlighting our culture, our community, our history even, I don't know, depending on the playlist. I could see it being something that our younger generation would be interested in, because there's not a whole lot to do for our younger generation. So that would give them something to do as well. So a lot of pluses.
Really quickly on top of that, apparently this whole place, Space to Create, was created from research throughout Colorado that defined that as the #1 problem in rural places. My kids don't want to come home. How do I get my kids back home for even a visit? So we don't have to have epileptic, stroke
Seizure.
effects going on 24/7, but maybe one weekend.
Only very hard speaks.
Okay.
Culturally.
Well, last year at EVMA, there was a couple of teams that came up saying they were really proud of the community for doing it. They felt like something they were involved in.
Oh, great.
So like you said, it does have an effect.
Kids would love to have these tools and do a music show. One other idea, I mean, that's related to this is, you know, before bringing it here, and we've been talking about it, but you have a tremendous location, maybe for a Velvet Road Festival or something. Activate under that bridge. If we succeed with that, you know who has seen some depictions of this? Shoshana Blue.
Oh, see that.
Yeah. So she's curious about how you remove light, how you like, instead of painting murals, maybe we could throw some light to remove light. Well, if she gets the example, more news story, more replicability, more what happened in Trinidad? Why did 1, 2, 3, why is this stuff happening in Trinidad? Trinidad, people coming, etc. around those things. So the way to interact with this brick can be a way to actually coordinate your experience and participation in this creative placemaking, longer term. So this isn't an isolated event. Specifically, if we hustle, there's a 501c3 here in town. It's called the Fox West Theater. We could target a large raise, I believe, $1 to $10 million. It might be better next year when the crypto market takes off a little, but there's been a lot of work in preparation towards this, where in summary, we sell actual bricks on the exterior of the theater under a covenant that you can't move them, but you can put it in your phone, and it can include discounts, etc., your rewards program, and your participation in this preservation, placemaking, rehabilitation. Trinidad starting at the theater, and if it works, apply rurally on the train stops from Chicago to LA. Just generally, there's a lot of upside where the intention is here. We can do a lot from here. I'd love to do it. And would love any questions, comments, feedback. Is this too much? Is it?
I think it's too much right now.
Right.
I love the
Not
vision.
fungible.
Yeah, I like the grand visioning, but in terms of like immediate focus is, could we pull this off this year, this winter? How much money would we be willing to pull out of the lodging tax fund to throw at it? And that's, in terms of this meeting, what we have to determine. So,
Okay.
from there, yeah, I mean, grow the events. If we're doing spin-off things, that's great. I'm wary of any new apps. You mentioned apps a lot, and I don't want to go too far down that road because I know Lisa's got her baby app going, but not a fan of that. I think it's too big of a hurdle for people. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of refocus a little bit there.
Okay, I mean, I just wanted to say that's the big picture, but to dial it down into the practice is if, I don't have a budget for you, but I'd love to get us a budget towards getting equipment and expertise and capability so that even while you're in New York or Vero Beach or wherever, we can still be moving forward and learning and talking and growing this practice.
I think that would be helpful, so we have an idea of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're asking for $1 or $1 billion.
Oh, no. This would be
I'm not sure
similar.
what the scale
After
is.
Fox Theater, are we doing things for Fox Theater? Is that what you're asking for?
Coordinate, yes. I mean, if you coordinate with the theater, potentially this event can be very synergistic.
That'd be a fantastic canvas though for like,
Yeah, that's a good
the
site.
side of that building,
It's-
I mean, seen from the highway, it's a fantastic canvas.
We've done some projecting on there. There's more coming. Part of it is the patent.
Fox Theater is the teacup.